Good morning, all. Welcome to the laboratory. Today, we shall be trying some new things that have been suggested by commenters on my YouTube videos. All right, I'm going to drop the accent. So today we're going to try, based on my last dyeing video, some suggestions on things to try. So what I have here is a stainless steel pot. We're going to try doing the amethyst purple and the sunshine yellow in this one, see if they still break the same or whether the peeling on my fry pan, allowing the aluminum to show through, would affect the dyeing. The other thing we're going to try, I have here some cool acid water, and we're going to see if we can make the Amazon green not bleed. So the suggestion is that we soak it in the cold water, heat set it, and then see what happens. So I'm only going to be working with 50 grams this time, just to keep it simpler. So first thing we need to do is measure out our Amazon green. So I'm going to use 15 grams. Give it a slosh. It's such a pretty color though. Look at that. That's why I continue to use it even though it's a pain in the butt, because it is so pretty. All right, so we're going to go with I think we're going to go with 30 on this. We're going to mix that in. Okay, so we got water, acid, dye. Now I'm going to throw the fiber in, and I'm doing it dry this time. That's probably breaking from my how I did it last time, but oh well. Look at me thinking ahead and not pushing it down with my hands, although I did already get green dye on my fingers. It's like it's waterproof. Oh yeah, wait, it's wool. It is. All right. I'm just going to let that kind of soak its way down. All right, now here, oh, I didn't plug in my hot plate. Hold on a second. All right, there we go. Now we have power. All right, we'll get that heating. I'm going to put this in here. This is acid water already. Okay, now we'll spread it out a bit. And because we're using half the amount, we're going to use half the amount of the dye. So we want amethyst purple. There we go. I'm in. Oh, I'm dyed. I forever get dye on myself. It's just kind of accepted that that's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to add some water to this, just a little bit though. And some sunshine yellow. Sunshine. It's an interesting accent I got there. All right, there we go. water to this. It's starting to sink. I'll put some gloves on and make that sink in a little bit. But first, let's do this part. All right. I'm going to put the yellow first. Sploosh. 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 And then I'm going to add the purple. Sploosh. Sploosh. I don't know what it is with me today and funny accents and weird noises, but I'm just going to roll with it. All right, so we get the dye in. Let's see what happens. Just going to push it down a bit. Move the fiber out a bit so the dye can get in and down and around. All right, I'm going to let that heat up and see what happens. See if the color breaks or if it's just using it in the pan, which is fine because I'll just cook it in the pan again. But for the moment, I'm going to let it heat up. I'm going to throw on some gloves and get this to submerge completely. And I will be back to update you. So I got the roving submerged into the Amazon green. I'm going to let that just sit until hopefully it exhausts. And here, I used less dye this time, I think, but it is still breaking into other colors. So apparently it wasn't the fry pan at all. It was the method. Now this was the first one I did, and I did put it into acid water, and it was a strong acid solution. So I think that's what's causing the colors to break, is the strong acid solution. At least that's my theory. I could be completely wrong, but it is turning out lovely. I've got yellows and purples. There's some peaches again, little bits of green. The colors aren't nearly as intense as they were on the first one, but interestingly enough, it still did it. Now, my dye bath has a couple spots of color left, but it's nearly clear. I'll continue heating that until it's completely clear. And heat set the color. Give it a wash, and we will have some new roving. I'm kind of excited. I'm very pleased it turned out again. It's an interesting technique. So this is probably going to take a few hours before it's ready to heat set. This one's just about ready to go. So I will update you later when it's time to heat set the Amazon green, and we'll see what we can do to keep it from bleeding for rinse after rinse after rinse after rinse. I'll see you in a bit. All right, I decided, since I already have the water heated, I'm going to do one more thing. So what I'm going to do, I have 100 grams of roving soaking in water, and I'm going to add 1 more tablespoon of citric acid to my water. This is the same bath I used for the purple yellow. All right, got it all mixed in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take ruby red. Okay, maybe not that jar because I can't get into it. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get into this one. Oh, yeah, much better. Okay, I'm going to put
This one tends to go pink. So I'm going to put four, I'm going to go 5 and 6. All right. I wanted a really, really red. So looks kind of pink on the screen, but trust me, it's red. Where's my towel? There it is. All right. Now what I'm going to do take my 100 grams of pre-soaked roving, plop that in there, push it all down. Now I want to get it in a layer. All right, and then I'm going to take my river blue. There we go. One, two, 3, 4. Plus an extra tablespoon of citric acid. I'm going to add a bit of water to this. Then I'm going to dump it on top. Now, because the fiber fills the pot, the blue should stay towards the top and make a pretty purple when it mixes with the red. Which so far the theory is working. Just going to push it down a little bit more. Now I've used a lot of dye in here, but I also used a lot of citric acid. So I'm going to let that cook for a bit. And we're going to see what happens. Although I gotta say, I am loving this electric purple that's showing up on the top of the pot. Kind of hoping maybe that'll spread all the way through it. This is exciting. All right, let's see how our... Oh, it's starting to exhaust a bit. It's getting lighter. Just sloosh it around a little bit. Let it soak a little more. And I will continue to heat this. Just going to push the edges down. Oh, what a purple that makes. Oh, so pretty. Okay, so I freely admit I'm addicted to purple and blue. They're my favorite colors. Depending on the day, one day it might be purple, next day it might be blue. But they are indeed my favorite colors. And this electric purple is gorgeous. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make that just by itself. All right, I'm gonna keep heating this. I'll bring you back when I have a little more information to share. We'll see how it turns out. All right, typical of me, I couldn't leave it alone. I've been manipulating the fiber a bit to try to get that purple to spread throughout. But there's like these raspberry pops and some bluish pops, and it looks so cool. And the dye bath is actually almost exhausted already, but I shouldn't be surprised because I did use a lot of citric acid. But look at the raspberry colors and the purples. Oh my goodness, this experiment is turning out interesting. I gotta quit poking it. I'm gonna make it felt. But I just wanted to show you that it still has like the red shades struck first, and then they were overlaid or over dyed by the blue. So basically we've done an over dye in one pot. It's kind of interesting. Anyways, I'm going to wait till the dye bath exhausts, and then we'll put it to cool before wash. So here we are back with the Amazon green. I let it soak in the cold acid bath with the dye all day. And as you can see, it did not exhaust, which doesn't surprise me really. So what I'm going to do now is heat it up. I did dump about half of the dye bath because there was just way too much water. I probably should have used more fiber and less water and dye, but you know, it happens. I've got the other two soaking in soapy water right now. So while this heats, I'm going to go and give them a wash and we'll see how they did. 1 second. So we have these soaking in water and 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. There's a bit of a runoff from the blue, it looks like. So I'm going to drain these. You can see there is definitely a little bit of color in the water. So we'll give that separately so I can make sure that I get all the bleeding out of each colorway. All right, let's give this a rinse. I guess all you can see is my shoulder, huh? There. So we give this a rinse, and you can see there's no color runoff there. So we will take that. We will spin that to dry it. So we spin the water out, and you can see that we've got the same repetition. I am so pleased that it turned out again with the purples and the pinkies and the greens. So I'll put that to dry, and now we're going to work with this bad boy that I think is bleeding a little bit of color. I find that using this stuff, 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, it strips off any loose color in one bath. It just seems to just like suck it right off. Usually, even if there is color runoff, except for with the Amazon green, I just give it a rinse, and there is just, I don't know if you can see that, but I can. There's just a shade of a purple tint in that water. So we're going to give it one more bath. Just trying to keep the water about the same temperature. Water out. Dump that in, squish it around, and there we go. Now the water is clear. So that's done. Give that a squeeze. Pop that in our salad spinner. And we'll spin out all the water. There we go. So we'll put that one out to dry. It's got little bits of blue left, and the red really just goes pink. It does not stay red at all. But it gives me this lovely purpley blue. It's quite a lovely purple. So I'm not displeased. All right, let's change again. We are back over to our Amazon green. The water is heating up, but there's still plenty of dye in the water. Usually I don't have a problem exhausting this. It just bleeds in the rinsing. So I'm not entirely sure what is up. I've never tried cold water soaks before. So that may be the issue. I'm just going to set up my sweater drying rack here. So this one went in dry and it's still pretty fluffy. This one went in wet. I don't know. It looks like it might be a little bit felted. Curious to see if that's an issue. I'm looking at all these pretty colors that come out so cool. All right, so back to our Amazon green. Let's see how this is doing. Still heating. Oh, it's starting to exhaust. I love the color, but I may just have to learn how to mix it. Everything in me right now is screaming to add color to it. Just add color to it. I don't know if I can resist the urge. I want to add some blue. I want to add blue. No, this is an experiment. Stop it. Do not touch the dyes. True confession, I am not a one color dyer. I love to mix all my colors together and just splash it all on there like a Jackson Pollock painting. So sitting here watching this one color cook is very difficult for me. Shh, don't tell. All right. Let's see how it goes. Still not exhausted, but then the water's not quite hot enough yet either. Waiting is the hard part. I guess I can clean up while I wait. All right, I'll pause. All right, so it's been another few minutes and the dye bath is almost completely exhausted. There's just a tinge of color left. So what I'm going to do is another technique that sometimes works is I'm going to shut this off and I'm going to leave it. I'm going to walk away and I'll come back tomorrow and we'll wash it up and see if it bleeds. If it doesn't, then that's the technique that I will have to use every time I use the Amazon green, is just let it cool in the pot overnight. Well, my plans to leave this to cool overnight turned into cooling for a couple of days, unfortunately. The very next day I was making chili in my kitchen and I sliced open my knuckle on a tin can. Fairly badly, no stitches, but it did leave me incapacitated for a couple of days. I couldn't bend my finger at all for fear of popping the wound open again and bleeding all over the place somewhere. So today it's finally healed enough that I can use my finger. I am going to wear gloves though to keep it from getting wet. And I'm going to rinse up this Amazon green, and we'll see if the color runs like it has every other time. 1 second and I'll switch this over to the sink and put my gloves on like a good girl. All right. I think you've got a good view now. So we will drain off the citric acid bath. Give this a bit of a squeeze. And we'll use some 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. I really love the Pert Plus. It really does strip off and release color. I found that to work incredibly well, which if you dye your hair is a good reason not to use it. Alright. And it's only warm water. And we'll drop this in. Now, usually, regardless of the dye, first bath generally has just a little bit of a tinge to the water because of that stripping effect I find the Pert Plus has. But it usually, with one rinse, the color is gone. So, as you can see, there's a lot more than just a little bit of color in this. You can see how this bleeds like crazy. There's no fiber in that Amazon green right there. All the fiber's over here. So I'm going to let that soak for a minute so it fully penetrates the fiber, and then we'll start rinsing. All right, so we're going to take it out of the soapy water. Between each rinse, I'll run it through the salad spinner just to get all of that water and dye out. So you can see how much dye is coming out. And we'll go for our first rinse. Start with a clean tub. Just make sure your water temperature stays about the same. Don't let the water bead on the fiber. All right. Oh my goodness. Well, color me impressed. There's only a tint of color in that rinse. That's much better than usual. Usually it takes like 5 or 6 rinses to get to this little bit of color. So apparently letting it sit overnight and letting it set, or doing the cold soak first, I would guess more the sitting overnight, helps it maintain that color better. All right, so we will give it another spin and another rinse and see if that's the last of the bleeding. I have a hot water on demand system in my house so that I don't have a hot water tank. So sometimes it can take a little bit for the hot water to get to the tap. But I find it far preferable to having a hot water tank. I can more easily adjust the water temperature. So if I'm washing fleeces, I just crank up the hot water tank. And in no time at all, I have really hot water. And I'm not paying to heat anything I'm not using. And we'll dunk that in. And let's see. Well, this is my amazed face. It worked. Look at that. trying to decide if there's a little bit of color in the water or if it's just a reflection of the dye. No, that's pretty much clear. Well, that makes me happy. That means I can use my Amazon green more often and have less troubles. So I'm going to spin this out and set it to dry, and I will show you the results of the experiments. 1 second. All right, so these have had a chance to dry fully. So I'm going to take those off the screen, and we're going to just spread out our Amazon green, which is really more turquoise, which I love. And we'll give that time to dry. We'll have a look at this stuff here. And you can see there's blue, purple, and pink. It's quite lovely. Some little patches of some whites. Not much though. Little pops of blue here and there where it didn't blend, which I love. And a really pretty purple. So that was fun. And this was our experimental one that we had the color break. Don't worry, that's just the dishwasher draining, not someone peeing in the corner. So what I'm going to do, is because I only did 50 grams of this second experiment, is I will spin this up and see how it looks as a spun yarn. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. If you like fibery content, do the stuff down below, because I do fibery content. And, you know, sometimes experiments fail, sometimes they succeed. The fun is in the trying. So just, you know, have fun and try it. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.